Hello and welcome back. Welcome to my channel. As you can see, I've got the sewing machine out and we're going to be sewing this together. I'm going to go over with you a couple of things. About 5 years ago, I got a huge bag of 1930s and 1940s fabric, and I brought it home and I washed it, and I began to just see what was in it, and we'll go over that too. But what I've taken here is a few Kfasat fabrics, Brassica, and that, and I've sewn some pieces together, and I'm going to put this piece on, excuse me, this. I'm going to take this long piece and put it at the top because it wasn't quite long enough. This is actually going to be a journal cover, and what you want to do is just line up, put right sides together, and just line them up as well as you can. This one piece, as you see, is a little bigger, but I'll just snip that off. So let's go get right into it. Hope everyone is doing well. We're having some rain today. A nice, rainy, cool fall day. What's it like where you're at? I want to make sure you can see this. What I do is I do about a 1/4 inch. I do quilting seams. So, yeah, there it is. Okay. Just wanted to be sure you could see. My sewing machine, I like to put the needle down first, then the presser foot. You want to be really careful and keep your fingers away from the needle. All of you that know, that have sewn, know that. I just want you to be safe if you haven't. I'm going to go back. I'm going to do a couple back stitches. And then I'm going to just, and that's uneven. If you can see that, that's okay. That doesn't bother me because I can take that off. And I just want, my purpose is just to get these two fabrics together. And I don't really even care if they're a little wonky because that will add to the character of the piece. Just taking a straight stitch. I've got about 2.5 to 3 inches, 2.5 to 3 stitches per inch. So nothing real serious on this. It's not like this is a garment. We're not wearing it. Just gonna make a little solid piece of fabric with these pieces. Okay. And then I will just give it a back stitch just to set it in. The pieces that I got from the, I keep bumping it. Sorry. So sorry. Sorry about bumping that. The pieces I got from the antique shop or the little resale shop, those pieces, I love this little thread cutter. It makes it handy. So let's see what we have here. So see, now that is part of it. But you see, as I said, that's a little longer. So what I will do is I will press the seam, but I'm just going to take that off because before we get to pressing, in this video, we're going to sew another piece on here that I had laid out. Just take it down like that. And a lot of these older pieces, I've pressed this several times, but as you can see, some of them are linen, and they're a woven fabric, much different than what we have today. So they do that fraying really nicely. But I liked the blue with the oranges. Oh, I keep bumping the setup. I have it down a little closer, so I'm really sorry. But what I was doing was I had dyed some eyelet, probably a couple years ago. I dyed some eyelet, and I love that color of that eyelet, and I really thought it went with this piece. And I'm actually not putting it there, I'm putting it on the side. Let's do it like this. Put the sewing machine back. What I had thought is I will put this. These two are actually the same designer, Kay Fassat, and so they look good together. And then this will go on the edge of the fabric. So I liked that color scheme. And then that's why I added the blue. So I'm going to sew that on there. Like that. We'll move this back. But first, I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. I really don't need that for the salvage. The edge. It's really different sewing on camera and trying to watch the camera setup than just throwing your stuff down and sewing. So, if you're getting any background noise, I do apologize. I have a neighbor that I think is deaf, but yet he sits on his front porch and listens to his TV or radio from there. So it's quite loud. I hope it's not picking up on the video. Forgive me if it is. Okay, so we've put these edges together, and you got this. So we put these edges together, and I mostly want the blue. So what I'm doing is it's a little longer, so I'm bringing it in from this edge and in from that edge. So because we already have that. I like the veining, what he did on this with the yellows and oranges. But I'm more into blues. So we will go ahead and move our sewing machine where you can see what's happening here. I'll put this together. And as I said, I really don't like to follow a pattern. So there's lots of good channels that follow patterns, and seamstress. My mom can follow a pattern like nobody's business. But for me, I just kind of like to make my own way. Okay, I'm making sure that I have both pieces of fabric lined up, and I'm making sure that I'm on the edge. And then I will put my needle down, put that, and we will step on the presser foot. I like to go forward and then just back a bit. Kind of locks your stitches in. As you're going along. Now, many people also like to use pins. They like to use clips, whatever it is, to hold your fabric. I just watch and go slow. I'm a little too impatient to pin it. Take all that time, but I think it's a good thing if you're starting out and to use it. Okay, that's the end. See what we have here. As I bump it again, I'm going to have to set up a different setup. So I will cut. I will press at a later date. Not during this video, but normally what I'll do is I'll press this down and set the thread into the fabric, and then I'll press it open. I'll press the seam, and I'll press it one way or the other, usually opposite of each other. So we're kind of making a little quilt, you know, if you will. You could call it that. And then I'm going to take this off. I'm just pinking shear that extra piece of fabric. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay, so now we have 2 pieces of fabric on in just a few minutes, and if we were to keep this like this, and I will do several other things to it to make the booklet much more stable. I'll have either cardboard, or I have another adhesive that I use to stabilize it. And so what happens is, very quickly, you have, as you press it out, you have your front of your book, and then the back of your book. And of course I'll even that up and put it square on my quilting, my cutter, my rotary cutter and that. So what we're going to do with this, as I said, is put the lace on. And that will go like so. I have extra. And that's how we'll do that. I can never decide which is the right side and which is the wrong side of this. I suppose it's whichever side you like best. What do you think? That's where it helps when you press your fabric in between, you'll have it much flatter. Excuse me. I think I like the other side. Seems like it goes with the... And how I'm going to do this is not, I don't believe I'm going to do it with wrong sides. I'm going to, let me think that through a minute. Let's see. Like some of the white showing. Okay. We'll go for this. And see, this is cut wonky too because this was a gathered piece and I cut all the gathering off from it. Maybe I ought to trim that a little to make it a little more even. I like the variations in the coloring. That's really what I wanted to show. Let's see where there. Let me just move this just a little bit. Let's see. Seems like moves. Okay, so I'm putting it back together. 2-stitch. We'll see. Because there's no pattern, it's all your own experiment, which I find highly fulfilling. Okay, so again, we're going to do the same thing, but I'm going to stay right at the edge of this, needle down, and go. And let's go backwards. Okay, and forwards. And I stop and readjust each time, you know, making sure that I have these lined up, because this is the most, kind of the most important part. It's going to be right on the edge of the book, and you want it to show well. Just do that. Edges are where you get the most sort of wear and tear, so I always try to go back and forward and then back again on these. Okay, now let's see. So this is how we've sewed it on, but what it's going to be viewed like this, by folding that over. And I just really love that. I thought that was so beautiful with those oranges and that yellow orange and green with the blue and the blues there. I thought that looked really pretty. It would make a pretty book. And that's why I added this too. So you see a little, that'll peek out. And nothing like having the new and the old together. So what I need to do, I will trim. I had extra, so we'll take this and we will trim that off. And now this part, as I measure it and get it ready, this is actually ready for evening up and deciding what size the pages will be. You know, what size I'm actually going to make it, because this could, you know, you can then, as you make a small piece of fabric into a little quilt or however many pieces you make, you can then make it as big as you want and take and cut it down, which is a lot of times fun. I've done with quilts, just sew and sew blocks together and then cut them down and sew back together a different way. It makes a really cohesive piece because you have all the colors and all the fabrics the same, and it makes for a fun project. I'll have to show you that sometime. I started a quilt last year, and I've got it finished. The quilt top is finished. I just need to quilt it. I haven't decided to quilt it on by hand or if I would quilt it on the machine. So those are beautiful colors. Those are beautiful colors. Now this fabric that I took, what I was going to do was, I was going to show you some of those. When I got them out of the bag, this is what they resembled. Well, that was prior. That was actually before I put them in the washing machine. So it was pretty amazing. Here's my setup. There we go. So what I did is, you know, I just took them all and I just threw them in the washing machine, and I didn't really touch them other than just to dump them in. It was a Ziploc bag. So over the years, and like I say, it's been about 5 years since I bought it, or I don't know, maybe a little more than that. But they are just beautiful, beautiful 40s, 30s, and 40s fabrics. And while some of them are tiny like that, there are big, long strips that when you use your ironing board, they become long strips. And it's fabric that you really can't even get now. Like, it's woven. You can see that. They're woven. And some of them, I wonder if they're linen, parts linen, the way they're so heavy. They're not like a cotton. You see, they look like nothing until you kind of open them up. I've made a lot of different little quilts, little mini art quilts with them. Let me see if I can reach this on my ironing board. This is one that I started the other day. It's got some old, but this is a newer piece. And it's, you know, it's got some size on it. This is an older piece, like shirting. Once you start putting them together, it's really a lot of fun to see what you get out of that. And then I have some pressed. I was going to show you. So even though they're small, don't pass it up. It's amazing what you can do, and then revive these older fabrics. See that? Older prints. little tiny pieces. That one. Like that looks like maybe a dress my grandmother wore. Honestly, it could have been because she lived in the area where I bought these at. There's a tiny little check. Whoops. It's interesting, all the patterns and things that you see that are so different than what we have today. These two I'd sewn together. This one had a yellow bonnet. They don't hold their press like fabrics do today. They really have to be ironed. That one I thought was just gorgeous. I like teal. This one I'm putting in a autumn. I think that rust, that blue go together well with that. And I still have a huge bag. It's in a basket. I still have a huge basket. But I just press them when I get ready to use it. I really hope you've enjoyed this little bit of a sewing together and fabrics, different fabrics. These are like 1930s, 1940s. If anybody has any comments or seen or know of these fabrics or seen these prints, please leave a comment below. And if you will, go ahead and like the video. That really helps me a lot to get my channel going. And subscribe, because I'm going to have lots of different videos and weaving and sewing and different things, and more involved as I get my get used to videotaping myself creating. So I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching. Bye till next time.